Hello, Scott.
Hey, hey, Greg. Thanks for joining us, everyone out there on the internet, for another edition of the Political Matrix News. I'm Scott Miller. This is my longtime partner, Greg Fink.
Yeah.
We are the Political Matrix.
Yes, we are the good part of it anyway. So I'm just kidding, so everybody else. But no, I mean it's been fun the last several decades here watching campaigns go out, but we have seen stuff now through the wonderful world of AI that is changing everything dynamically through the campaign world and campaign apparatus on the communication side of it. It's already just campaigns. I mean, I'm talking about, if no, everybody is living underneath a rock about Donald Trump's wonderful photo of him being Jesus through AI and, or a doctor or whatever it says that he wanted to be. But the whole point here is that, you know, yes, he's the first one to do something crazy and silly and stupid and unforced error like this. However, he's not going to be the
He's
last.
not even he's not even close.
No, and I mean, granted, if they had AI like this back during Reagan years and the Carter years, they'd be doing it the whole time. I mean, I think you said yesterday we are in a new time, and this is
It is the way it is, and people come out and they work they drop these memes. Everyone is struggling for relevance. And I'm not saying Trump is struggling for relevance because he's one of the most relevant people in the world, but he's also did he say something that is being viewed as inappropriate? Absolutely. Is it the thing that the Democrats were desperately hoping will happen at any time? No, it's not even close. Anyone that thinks that it is doesn't really understand the issues to begin with.
world
They're just
politics.
they're just grossly grabbing at straws, hoping they get some to take traction. But this isn't it.
No, it isn't. I mean, it is a club that he handed them that he did not need to hand them
It's an
to be
unforced error for
yeah,
sure.
I mean, and they're gonna beat it over the Republicans' heads, and it could possibly hurt turnout. It's gonna definitely affect fundraising for the Democrats, but that being said, if the Republicans can't overcome that, then they probably shouldn't be running in the first place. So, I mean, this is something that the Republicans candidates who are all running throughout the country should be able to overcome. It should not be an error or anything that's going to be holding them down. And if it is holding them down, then they probably should not be the candidate running at all anyway. And so, grow up, get over it. Yeah, he made a mistake. He made a stupid idea and everything. And we've talked numerous times on this show that he is the way he is. That's what we elected. And my God, he's an 80-year-old guy with an AI toy, and that's he made a boo boo. And, that being said, we're gonna move on from it and get over it, but, I mean, because the actions, I mean, I've talked to a lot of religious people here this week. They're all angry about it. They're all
I'm
despicable
sure.
about it. They all think it's
I'm sure they're all
horrible
offended.
and evil and offended. But the one thing they don't take away is, A, he's better than Kamala, which would have been that way on a daily basis, and B, the stuff that he has achieved, like you said, is, stuff that nobody else has ever even fathomed achieving. And I mean, with the border, with immigration, with the transgender issue being forced in schools and funding and federal funding of all the different programs that have never been cut, and no Republican or Democrat has stepped up to the plate to cut them in the last 30 or 40 years. And I mean, you can't take that away. That's a good thing.
I think it is. Again, Trump can do all sorts of things, but this is not the killer thing that the Democrats. It really just speaks is yet another demonstration of their desperation to find anything that they can use that'll actually have real impact. But this is not it.
Yeah, because I mean, this just shows that he's an arrogant, boastful guy, which memo, we all knew that. Ever
We
watch The
absolutely.
Apprentice?
No, I know. I mean, and for the same reason that all these evangelicals supported him in spite of the way that he's conducted his life, is the same reason that they're not going to care about this. I mean, they will be offended. They will wish that he had not had not done it, and they may take him to task for it for a while. But as far as not supporting him, anyone that doesn't support Trump over this wasn't going to support him to begin with.
I do disagree with the people who are defending it, saying that he really meant something else. And the Kool Aid drinkers, I'm not really on board with anybody defending it. However, I'm also agreeing with you that it's not the end all to end it because I mean it's just I mean the issue that he put out there as sacrilegious and blasphemous as it looked like, is nothing different than him running casinos and bars and boxing matches and gambling and all the different women issues. I mean, everything he's done over his 80, almost 80 years of life, I mean, has been a very, he's lived a very charmed, happy, hedonistic life. I mean, he isn't, he didn't say he was a Boy Scout. He didn't say he was a Sunday school teacher. What he did say was he wants to put America first, make sure American citizens, American workers are treated fairly. And that's what he said. And that's what he's doing. He didn't say he's going to be teaching in the Bible. Okay?
No, and you know what? That's just more proof that we shouldn't be taking our moral cues from celebrities, any
Exactly.
celebrity, even conservative ones.
Yes, I agree. You should take your moral cue from your moral code driven by the higher being that you believe in
You should take your moral
or
cues
the
from the
Bible.
Bible, but
Exactly. I mean, I'm a Bible guy myself, but so are
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I mean, I'm a King James all the way or NIV, but that's just me. And so, get over it, guys. I mean, we got a lot more things to worry about. We got gas to worry about and oil and transportation. And I think you were talking earlier today, right for the show, about us becoming a lot more secure. You said Tim Pool was saying that in a podcast
Yeah, yeah, Tim Pool.
for oil.
I think it was several days ago that he talked about this, and what he was talking about is just how what Trump has done is actually a lot more genius than even his most charitable critics are giving him credit for, because when you look at what he's done holistically, if you don't just look at Iran and you look at the whole thing, what he's done is he's secured one of the largest supply of oil in the world between the Permian Basin in the United States and what's in Venezuela. We now are the leading exporter of petroleum products now. There are 250 super tankers heading right now into the Gulf of Mexico, or I'm sorry, the Gulf of America, to load up and start bringing the world their oil again. So frankly, I think as soon as those tankers start getting full and coming back in, start heading back to their refineries, that's when we're going to start to see oil prices coming down. But regardless of what happens with oil prices, this is an entire realignment. Now, a couple of years ago, and it was very underreported. And I don't know why. Well, probably because it happened under Biden. But the Saudis ended the treaty. They had an agreement with them that they would conduct all of their oil business in dollars, and that gave America a very powerful economic position worldwide, the petrodollar. Well, now when they abandoned that, people were like wondering, "Oh my God, any moment something terrible could happen, and we'd be screwed." Well, Trump just took care of that because now we're not going to have that problem with the petrodollar because we now again control the world energy reserves. So we're in a much better place, and then we make money on it when these things are conducted in dollars. Then the strength of the dollar goes up, and then we make money. So think what you will, but for a long time ago, when I was wondering what would happen when all this green energy technology, really came into its own and became a thing, what would the Middle East do? Well, guess what? We've done the next best thing. Instead of making their energy product irrelevant, we've made their energy supply irrelevant
Exactly.
because we are now the biggest oil supplier in the world. And even if we don't get the regime change that we do hope we get, it's not going to matter. What he has done is more than worth it. Iran is now irrelevant, and the entire northern and southern American continents are suddenly the most relevant places in the world for energy, and we've got all of the different resources that we're going to need. China no longer has their access to discount oil anymore, and frankly, once we accomplish destroyed everything we can destroy there, it's not going to be very. They're still not going to be very relevant
Right.
because because it's going to take them years to redevelop all that infrastructure. And number two, if we stop sanctioning them, then they're going to have to sell that stuff on you know, at market prices instead of discount prices. And so now China is going to be out again. And
Yep.
so and we've got rare earth metals that are have been discovered up in Canada, and we have relations for that too. Because while Eastern Canada doesn't like us very much, Western Canada is doing everything they can to become American territories.
Yeah. And so,
And there's plenty available to us in Greenland too.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's a great thing that America is finally securing that. But I think the biggest thing here is to let people understand that and know the people out there, the voters, the regular Joe doesn't know anything about what's going on. The media is not talking about anything. It goes back to the media bias that we're talking about. It doesn't satisfy their clickbait need of fundraising against Donald Trump. It only satisfies their clickbait if it was something like tragic happening, and they just don't want to put in there anything positive for America. I mean, it's once again poo poo on America Day for the media and the Democrat Party. They only rival and only enjoy life whenever it's putting America last instead of putting America first, which is the entire opposite idea of what we're trying to do here through Trump and the Republican Party. And hopefully, Democrats are coming on board. I mean, we got Fetterman and a few other Democrats who are coming on board to where they actually do want to put the American citizens and all the legal immigrants and everything here first, and that's great. I appreciate that.
What you're noticing, and I think you mentioned this to me today, maybe, or maybe it was someone else, but I think it was you. It was talking about how the people losing the primaries right now
Yeah,
are the woke Democrats.
right,
The MAGA Republicans are able to hold their seats or hold their primaries, and the woke Democrats, the ones espousing all this craziness,
right.
are the ones that are getting primaried and losing. And I hate to tell you, but unknown names like that don't do well in general elections. I
No,
mean,
they
you can
don't.
kind of silo it pretty well in a primary, but in a general election, that's a whole different animal.
That's what people don't realize, and that's one thing I think the context that we bring to the table here is that watching the elections from the back end, like we have, the primary apparatus and the primary polling is totally different than general outreach and general election polling. And I mean, I know that the other people out there know this in our industry. It's just that the fact that they don't want to say that because it might hurt their position is just sad. The reality here is that there's people that specialize really good in primaries, and there's people that just specialize really good in generals. Now, with our polling that we've done in the past, our accuracy is pretty much spotless for both. However, when they compare our polling to other pollsters out there in the primary cycle, it's not even close. I mean, it's a special niche in order to survey people who might or might not show up for general elections because there's a whole different psychology that people don't realize. Voters who turn out for primaries only, not generals. So majority of the time they do both, but a lot of times they don't. A lot of times the primary is their general election, so they don't have to turn out for the general. And so whenever you're in counties which are predominantly one party or the other, the general election is just basically,
It's a
whoever's,
coronation.
it's a coordination of a down ballot apparatus action from, the top line of the ticket. This here, some states is a governor seat, or some states is a U.S. Senate or a presidential seat. Then they're just, voting probably with their eyes closed on everything else, or whoever's left, and because their general elections at the primary. And that's one thing that people don't realize, and that's one thing I'm looking at this new poll here right now as we're talking about this new Florida poll done by Christian Overt and his company, I guess, Edge Communications. Don't laugh, don't snicker. He did say it was likely voters, and who knows, it might be. However, according to his the likely voters, the response rate 46% in Florida were Democrat, 45% in Florida were Republican, and 8% in Florida were undecided. That's not even weighted anywhere near properly. Granted, yes, Democrats do have actually a higher turnout than people realize in Florida, but not not more than Republicans. It's a geographically, it's basically a very close state because we have a lot of new Republican voters who haven't voted yet. However, if you do look at likely voters, Republicans still do have a slight lead over Democrats, and the fact that Democrats were polled more, and this is a poll that has Byron Donalds, who has over 40 or $50 million easily between himself and his PACs.
Yes, I know what Christian Olvert is saying. That saying the Republicans are going to lose this time, and the state's turning purple, and we're going to be able
Yes,
to win because they're
exactly.
terrible. Whatever.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's
I could have told you those results before he ever even ran the poll
but
because he's not interested in accurate polling.
he did do 1,834 likely voters.
Well, let me see the script because there's a pretty solid chance that his likely voters self-identify.
They might have. It doesn't say here if they did or not. But it's interesting. It says here the number one issue, I guess,
Hmm.
is corruption.
What? See that again? This is an example of a pollster creating a
Yeah,
narrative.
that's
Because if they were
interesting.
worried about corruption, then they'd be pointing their fingers straight at the Democrats. This is him coming to a red
Yeah,
state, trying to create corruption as a red state issue, and it is a red state concern. It's just not a red state caused thing. Now, to be fair, I'm not suggesting that there's not corruption in all 50 states at all levels of government. There absolutely is. But in the glaring way that we've seen with the Democrats in Minnesota and California.
yeah. And so, I mean, I'm reading this poll here right now because I just got it sent to me here, and it's just, it's loaded. I mean, it's a good poll for I'm sure whoever paid for it. I'm sure they got
Well, I'm
exactly
sure.
the information that they wanted out of it. So that's good. But
Well, I mean, I'm sure that what they got out of it was good message testing.
yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, that's what a poll like that's made for. I mean, they want to see what the public's reaction is going to be on the inside the study, and then they want to see what the general media reaction is going to be, and how much response they get off of social media and stuff for.
Yeah, because the whole thing here, I mean, I get that campaigns are tough, and I get that, we're early in the campaign cycle and we have a huge primary. I mean, but the reality here is Byron is way ahead in the primary side. And that, I mean, the fundraising numbers that just came out the last quarter, I mean, he had
Hmm.
24 million and Jay Collins had 1.7 and Paul Renner had less than a million. And Fishback, who everybody, all the young people like, only raised like 250, 300,000. And everything else is, it's a huge, huge slobber knocker with fundraising
I
on
know,
that.
and every single cycle we have to go through this conversation that the young people are going to turn out there, and the young people like this
I
candidate,
wish it
and,
would.
they've invigorated the youth and whatever. Yeah, that all of those things may be true, but get them to show up on election day. Good luck. I got the statistics that'll prove what happens on election day because the Florida Division of Elections keeps those records. We get to look at who showed up and who didn't show up, and by and large, anyone under 30 is. I mean, I think they have like a 10% show rate, something like
No,
that.
it all depends if this is a university, though.
That's a different conversation. That's
No, then we'll get you. Like in Alachua County, I mean, we had a numerous, huge amount of young adults there. We've talked numerous times on the show, which we need to know if they're legal or even if they existed, or even if they knew they voted.
Well, knew they voted is probably the big catch
Yeah,
right there because you know most of the kids that age, they'll go register to vote because they're told they're supposed to, and they're trying to creep into adulthood, so they want to do things that adults
right.
do
Yeah,
right up to the point where it's vote because none of them spend any time really learning about what the political issues are. So when it comes to election day, they're like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm going to mark. And so, but because they're so disconnected, they got no enthusiasm about going.
right. And so that's the reason why the whole county to county transfer issue here in the
That's
state of Florida, we
ridiculous.
had brought that up. Some people in Alachua County brought that up to the people in Tallahassee about it. And they said there was nothing to see here. It just is the way it is. I'm like, no, I mean, it can't be. I mean, yes, okay, sure. The statute might be the way it is. Now it's time for some state reps and state senators to get on the ball and get a statute written that puts some sort of limitations or parameters on people just transferring at the last minute to vote and then transferring back. And I mean,
which is in itself ridiculous because number one, all right, number one, not two number ones, just one number one.
go ahead.
If you so I don't think I'm breaking any kind of news here when I say that young people are a little erratic, let's say. I'm not saying they're irresponsible. Let's just say they're erratic.
Erratic.
Yeah. And while you might convince me that you could get 9,000 of them or whatever the number was to same day transfer, you will never convince me that within a week of the election, they have the fortitude to go back and undo the transfers and
Not all of them.
reestablish themselves. I don't care.
A large portion.
Not even a substantial portion of them. These are college students.
Yeah, I
They
know.
got more. I mean, they're not showing up for. You get them to show up for election day. You almost have to hold. Twist their arm to get them to show up. Go and drag them out of their bed
Exactly.
by afternoon when they still haven't shown up,
Yeah, you have
and then haul them out of the polling place.
right.
How are you going to get them to up? You mean I got to I got to fill out paperwork to transfer myself back so that the next time I'm only marginally committed to voting, I'll be able to do it with no issues?
And
Yeah.
when we first found out about this, it was during the election that had medical marijuana and abortion on it. So everybody just said, "Oh, well, they're impassioned about those two issues."
Let me. It's getting dark. Let me turn on my light.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and talk.
But yeah, and so the reality here is that we started doing more research and realizing that these transfers have been happening in other elections that marijuana was not on the ballot and abortion was not on the ballot that have nothing to do with the young students' personal behavior issues on why they're voting for or against to endorse their own behavior. And so this thing has been happening quite a bit. And in fact, it's happening in both parties in both counties, numerous counties throughout the state of Florida. And that's the reason why whenever we brought it up to people who we thought were going to be sympathetic or Republican Party people in Tallahassee, they're like, there's nothing to see here because, there's other Republican counties who are doing the same thing. I mean, the whole reality here is if they think their buddy can get a leg up by getting a whole bunch of people to go ahead and transfer on the last day here to vote for them, they're going to do it. They don't care. Um, and it's a problem. I mean, it's the definition of election fraud, in my opinion, is ripe with a voter, with identity theft issues and everything else because, there's no verification now. If they made them all provisional ballots and they verified their addresses were right, they did everything properly, then that's a whole different story. But it's not the story.
Well, I don't know that they've actually been. The Tallahassee actually believes that there are Republican supervisors that are doing the same thing. I think it's that they're afraid that that's the case.
Exactly. I think that's the case. I think they're terrified of the truth.
And I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm telling you that the last thing that the division wants to do is rock the boat in that way if
Yeah.
they don't have to.
You can't handle the truth, is it? Is kind of
You can't handle the truth.
And
Exactly.
that's the direction they're going here is that, they basically realize that in order to make a change like that and they bring everybody to the table, they're probably afraid to see what they've already seen. And to make the change to fix it, oh my gosh, would be monumental, extremely expensive, and embarrassing with a lot of egg and a lot of faces.
I don't think it'd be a lot of expensive. I think we'll save money by
Actually, it
doing it.
would save money. Yeah.
You sit there and say, number one, if you want to absentee vote, you better have a compelling reason to do it.
Like they used to.
Yeah, like it used to be. And number two, we're not if you can't be responsible enough to get your vote in the mail and on its way before election day, then we're not then we're not going to do it.
But that's an absentee, but that's an absentee ballot issue, though, and I agree. I mean, I think the biggest thing in absentee ballot is that you got to be a voter. And that's what we're realizing is that my mom, who's dead for 5 years, is still getting absentee ballots, and there's no
Well,
verification
I
on that.
think that the absentee ballots is largely the mechanism by which most of this fraud is happening.
Yeah,
Because you know for to do other things to do other different things that you could possibly do, someone has to physically show up at the polls, and represent that they are someone. All right. But to do that with with absentee ballots, you ain't got to do none of that crap. You just got you show up and you dump a tub of ballots in a post office box or whatever, and then spread them around to a bunch of different
Right.
places or whatever you need to do, and then that's how they happen, and no one is the wiser. Period.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the direction we're going here.
Well, let's put it this way: in Georgia, they found a ton of absentee ballots that had never been folded. How in the hell are you going to mail an absentee ballot without folding it down to a number 10 letter
You don't need to
envelope
mail it.
size?
You just drop it off.
Yeah, but how did they get it to you?
They probably drove it there. That's the reason why you have an absentee
Yeah, because
ballot,
that,
so you can
that's what
drive it in.
that's right. Because that's what the supervisors of elections do. They
Yes,
rather
they
than
do.
burn a 60-cent stamp, they burn $8 worth of gas and God knows how much time.
Exactly. That's what all absentee voters do. They don't worry about voting absentee. They turn their absentee ballot in. Yeah.
So that is probably one of the most egregious mechanisms by which this voter fraud happens. I don't believe this alien, illegal aliens. There may be some. I'm sure there are some registered to vote. I'm sure there's a handful of them that have voted, but that's not the mechanism by which this widespread fraud is occurring. Period.
Well, yeah.
But fixing it, when you fix that, you fix a lot of the mechanisms by
Yeah.
which they commit fraud. So I'm not opposed to the talking point, but simply because by fixing it, you are actually fixing the other things, but which is why the Democrats are so opposed to fixing it.
Yeah, but I mean, on the flip side, I do think that illegal aliens are probably voting without even knowing they're voting. I think back to our original thing. I
Well,
think they're using
yeah.
their IDs. I don't think any illegal alien is going to be stupid enough to say, "Here I am. I'm voting. Come arrest me. Come deport me." I don't think that's happening. I think they don't know that they're voting. I think that's
Well,
100% fraud.
one of the other things, in following this Georgia election review, one of the other things that I found was, the Georgia Elections Board, they had a number of people that showed up, to testify in front of them who had been summoned because they were determined to be illegal aliens and they shouldn't have been had voting registration at all. And every single one of them said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I have never voted in this country. I've never thought I could vote in this country, and yet here it is."
Yeah.
Although I think a lot of them, and certainly the most egregious ones that get that way through programs like Motor Voter,
Right. Exactly.
where
That's how it
or
happens.
or I think Washington State literally sends a ballot to every registered voter. Period. And I think Colorado does something similar
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Colorado is probably the hotbed of the most egregious, just elections shenanigans.
Right. And so, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting election year. I mean, we've had a lot of the primaries already get done. I think a Democrat, California just had their primary last night. I didn't see, or was it
Was it
last
last
night,
night? Was it?
or is it this week? Or I know Swalwell was resigning right before the election year, so I'm
Yeah,
assuming
but
it will.
I don't think they've quite had it yet
Let's
because
take a look here.
I've been looking at the news all day and I'm
That's
pretty sure
true.
that'd be a significant story.
But yeah, but I think a significant story here is that Swalwell left and
I
Gonzalez.
understand that, but the election having
Well, I
occurred
know,
would be a
yeah.
pretty significant story.
I'm looking it up right now. So, what do you think about Swalwell leaving and Gonzalez leaving?
Couldn't happen to him. Frankly, they're two nicer guys. I mean, Gonzalez' case I think was a little weaker, but Swalwell's was right on point.
Right, their election's, May 18th.
And I'm not saying that Gonzalez shouldn't have gone too, but it's hard. That one was a little harder for me to wrap my head around. I mean, that was one that I could see was a little maybe pumped up, but still probably in any case inappropriate. But I don't know if it rose to the level of getting him expelled or not.
Right.
But you know,
Now what do you think about the, Sheila McCormick? I guess they're gonna be voting I guess they're gonna be doing these votes here this week or next week
I'm sure.
on removing these individuals, and so Sheila, I think, she's got found guilty on all 25 charges of ethics fraud, ethics violations with her FEMA, mishandling or stealing rather, allegedly. $5 million of COVID relief money. And so I think everybody's ready for this story and that chapter here there to be over. And most likely it'll probably be a special election in Broward County down there.
Well,
Or,
I think the reason they were trying to get, yeah, well, let's put it this way. I think that this is a great illustration of why we said at the very beginning that this sort of COVID program was going to be ripe for abuse. It
oh,
was
yeah,
literally a blank check as it was going on. I mean, conversation around people was like, "Yeah, just go ahead and do it. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?" Well, apparently that "what are they going to do" attitude extended to Congress
right,
because there's a ton of people. There are a couple of Republican people that are no longer in office that we know of that were probably guilty of the exact same thing.
right.
That they just didn't get it didn't get caught,
Not
but
yet.
well, not yet,
Because
but
there's also that PPP money out there that people need to start investigating here on who got all the PPP fraud, which
well,
dovetails into the whole COVID thing.
I'm including all of those programs. Anytime you create money giveaways, you are basically begging for fraud.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I mean, look at California and Minnesota, and those are actual programs that people can kind of get behind.
Yeah,
But
Minnesota's a
unfortunately,
small state.
yeah, well, the thing is that, people get behind the program, but when it's not supervised, then of course it's going to get ripped off.
Exactly.
There is fraud committed when people think they're watching like a hawk. When you take the supervisory attitude that California and Minnesota have had, it's amazing that it didn't consume the entire budget.
It's very true. And so, do you think they're gonna expel Sheila this
Yeah,
week or next week?
absolutely. Yeah, no, she'll be. She's the minute there's already people on both sides publicly calling for her to be gone. But when that happens, it's not going to be a party. I would imagine it'll be fairly like probably 90%.
Yeah. Now, the question is, because we both live in Florida here, will DeSantis do a special election for that seat, or the primary coming up in August already?
It's
Or
been
he's
a while
gonna,
since I looked at the statues, but I think if she has, well, there's not 50% of her. There's less
yeah.
than 50% of
Well,
her term left.
it's
But
different for Congress.
yeah, I think it may be more discretionary with Congress. But I don't know. Like I said, it's been a long time since I looked at that statute, that
Yeah,
Florida statute,
I think
because
it's gonna be.
we haven't had a race that would impacted in a while.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, also we haven't had an issue here to where somebody drops out this close to the election primary. But then you and I talked yesterday about the razor thin margin in the House. I don't think the Democrats really would be happy with leaving a seat open, or Republicans if they lose anybody else will be happy. And so I think a special election will be incumbent upon the governor of the state to make sure the people's house is acting as a people's house.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how fast Gavin Newsom schedules an election for
Oh
Smallwell.
yeah. I'm sure it'll be very quickly, very quickly.
I'm surprised he hasn't already done it.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's been an interesting week. Then we also have Corey Mills up there. And so there's a lot of investigations about Corey Mills, and his issue is a lot more confusing and weird.
Yeah. His is a lot funnier. There's a lot more he
It
said, she
is.
said. There's no criminal investigation that I'm aware of, although one that any day now, or maybe one's just popped up and I hadn't noticed, but any day. But I suspect that it's going to take a lot longer for his to develop before anyone would be compelled to get him out of there. So I think that Corey Mills, unless they find some very compelling evidence, is going to be able to at least complete his term. Now, whether or not he can re-up, I can't say, but he'll be able to complete his term, I
Right.
believe.
And also where he's at in Congress. I mean, him and Sheila are both in very solidly districts of their party. And so it's not like the Republicans are going to lose a seat if he goes or stays, or the Democrats are not going to lose a seat if Sheila goes or stays, the way the party lines are drawn right now. Now, however, redistricting in Florida, there's still going to be red for Corey's seat. Sheila's seat might be more purplish, reddish, more purplish blue. I don't think it's going to go all the way to red yet because it has a lot of Broward County in it and West Palm Beach area and Palm Beach County. But it'll be interesting because I mean, that's the way the Tallahassee legislature and the governor are drawing the districts to be very interesting.
Well, allegations of sexual impropriety against Republicans tend to be less damaging to Republicans because the Democrats have spent decades making much ado about nothing with
Right.
all sorts of people, while at the same time completely exonerating and ignoring their own people.
Yeah.
So, so for Republican primary voters, it's not going to matter. And frankly, a lot of the Democrat rank and file, have grown tired of that talking point as well.
Right.
So I don't think that's as effective as fraud. I think fraud is kind of something that is new and a very hot button topic at this point. But again, between Minnesota and California, that has turned it into a more relevant topic for all parties because Democrats and Republicans both do not like ripping off people, especially in social programs. Because remember, these are all social
Yeah, they
programs
are.
that the Democrats heavily, the rank and file Democrats heavily support. So fraud within those things is going to be devastating. I think for any Democrat candidate, it's going to be particularly devastating. A Republican with those kind of allegations won't make it through a primary
No, Republicans are much more stringent on that, and they
on
on
that
that
issue.
topic,
Yeah,
on that issue. Now,
Republican voters are. Yeah,
voters. Now, you say fraud is a big issue that people are talking about. However, once you start talking about this and this goes on YouTube and the algorithms do not like to talk about fraud at all. And so, if you guys want to share that part out, that'd be wonderful because otherwise it's going to be suppressed by the wonderful YouTubers algorithm and the Facebooks and all the social media. They don't like to hear us talk about election integrity. That's a horrible thing. Or voter fraud. That never happens. That's all fake news, fake news, fake news. Oh my goodness.
algorithms hate that, but it is
I
a
hate the
fact of life.
truth.
So please, if you get a short that has this in it,
Yeah,
share it all you can.
because of the fact, I mean, how dare anybody to prove me that's not? Okay, I mean, we have sat there. And I think you and I have been through more campaigns that were settled by 50 votes or less than any consultant team I've met that's walking this earth, probably. I mean,
Yeah, we the person witnesses to that. Plenty of occasions.
I could smell a close race. I mean, there was a race in city of Alachua yesterday because they had a lot of the municipal races throughout Florida here. And the Republicans just did not turn out one bit whatsoever. And this is an incumbent, a Republican incumbent. It's a nonpartisan race. And so the
Mm,
Republican incumbent who's been there for like 6 to 8 years, she lost almost 2-1 by the decided voters here, the Democrats. And that's, I mean, it's not a very Democrat leaning city.
county, yeah.
I mean, no, it's a city. It's a city of
Oh, it's a
Alachua.
municipality, right,
It's a
yeah,
little municipality. It's a very rural,
yeah.
conservative municipality. The Democrats have been
What?
pulling out gains here in the last 2 cycles, and I think the last cycle, 2 years ago, they found 14 or 15 fraudulent voters, and granted that the split here was a lot more, but it's just interesting how the times are it looks like they're all turning toward the Democrats, but at the same time, the voter fraud that we're talking about, that everybody doesn't want to talk about, is continuing happening because nobody is prosecuting any of it. They all just keep thinking we're
Well,
hoaxers, we're
yeah.
jokesters, and it's all BS.
Well, I've said a number of times, you're not going to get these people to do this strictly on the law. It's gonna take a significant public relations campaign to embarrass these people into doing this,
Yeah, their
and
cousin has to
fairly
lose.
frankly, I would love to get a digital copies of every single transfer sheet for every county in the states. Every
Right.
single county that did same-day transfers, I wanna see their sheets.
Exactly.
And I suspect that would be a very enlightening public records request.
I mean, ask Jasmine Crockett. She thinks that she was defrauded in Texas
Yeah.
to Recco, and I mean, there's other people.
Apparently Jasmine Crockett believes in voter fraud.
Who's that lady who ran for Senate in Georgia? She got a lot of money, African American Democrat lady.
Stacey Abrams?
Stacey Abrams. She also said she was a victim of voter fraud
Oh, yes.
as
Oh,
well.
yeah. I think she was running
Hillary,
for governor, though, I
yeah,
think.
Hillary was a victim of voter fraud.
Yeah,
Hillary
yeah.
said the election was stolen. I mean, Biden said the election was stolen whenever he didn't get to be the presidential nominee in '08. He said he was robbed. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is, It's not that if you're robbed or not, it's just you don't talk about it unless it happens to you. And so the people who know it happens, I mean, guys, this is a reality, okay? And when you start seeing gains like this on one party in areas that that party is not dominant, you gotta start scratching your head and looking around and like saying, why is no I mean, and granted, maybe Trump's big issue in 2020 was saying it was fraud. Maybe he went overboard to where there's a diminishing returns where he took a lot of the credibility out of what we're saying out of it. I don't know. He did put a big microscope on it. Now nobody wants to look at it because they say, well, nothing was found guilty there. Nothing was found. Doesn't mean nothing wasn't there. It just means that nobody did the due diligence and all the steps to do it. I mean, it's not an easy, glaring thing. You have to actually track, the voters and track, vital statistics and track e-verify. Actually, let me correct myself. It is actually a pretty easy thing. Why nobody is doing those things in the elections office, why they're not cross-referencing with dead voters and dead people and the vital statistics of each state has organized, why they're not communicating with the SOEs of each state, and then why each state is not e-verifying. Well, I know why, because the blue states, they want illegals to vote. They want it that way. I mean, otherwise they would have given their records over whenever people requested it very rapidly, but they desire the cheating. They love it. They write,
Well,
they
they need
bathe
it
in
for their
it.
survival.
Exactly, they need it for all their funded, programs and everything that are bridges to nowhere. I mean, they need it.
I don't know about bridges to nowhere, but in order to keep their social programs going, they have to have they have to have someone that is sympathetic with funding those programs, and they also need someone that's sympathetic with having a non-governmental organization, being the recipient and managing the distribution of those dollars for them. Because when they have those two things, then they're able to redirect funding back to themselves. So I mean, it goes through a couple of hops for money laundering
Right.
purposes, but they do it.
And what's a better recipient than a voter that does not exist? What's a better guy to work with? You can't disappoint them.
Yeah,
I mean, if these voters aren't real, then there's no disappointment, and you're making everybody happy. You're ringing the cash register, and it all works good for everybody.
yeah. So
Anyway, enough of that
anyway,
horse being beaten to death. Actually, not to death, but just the beginning of a beating. But but that being said, anything else going on today?
no, I don't know, and frankly, my battery's getting down to 20%, so it may be time to wrap this episode up because it says 20%, but we all know that when it hits 20, 20
I guess
goes twice as fast as that first 40 does or
it's
first 80
when
does
it 20 gets to 10 pretty quick.
pretty quickly.
Okay, well, you have a good evening, Sky here, and enjoy the weather where you're at in Panama City. It looks like, and wonderful coastline of Florida.
In the wonderful coast of Florida, where millions live or thousands live, or millions wish they could.
True, it's a beautiful area down here. Everybody should come to
Indeed,
Florida. I'll live here.
indeed.
And find us on a social media platform, your choice, and we'll see y'all later.
See you later.